The Denver Broncos received some rough news on Jerry Jeudy's injury, and now the team must determine where to go from here. So, we got some really tough news regarding Jerry Jeudy's injury today, as it was announced by NFL insider Ian Rappaport in this tweet right here that Jerry Jeudy is expected to miss several weeks with a moderate hamstring strain that he suffered in practice today, per Ian and Tom Pelissero. That puts Jeudy's status in question for week 1, but there's optimism it's nothing long-term for one of Denver's top weapons. So, for those of you who may have missed the news update, Jerry Jeudy was running an end around in today's joint practice with the Los Angeles Rams, and he came up lame with his hamstring. He was down for a couple of minutes on the ground and was examined by trainers. Ultimately, he couldn't put pretty much any weight on that hamstring, and he had some trouble even getting up on the cart. So he was carted back into the locker room and helped back into the locker room by a couple of trainers. And now it's determined that he's going to miss several weeks with this hamstring strain. Now, I want to come down here and take a look at this tweet from the Fantasy Doctors, run by Dr. Jesse Morse and several other sports medicine physicians out there. And these are guys who are working off of the same information that we have, so this is not a diagnosis. This is just a generalized opinion based on the same public information that we have. This says if this is a grade 2 or a moderate hamstring strain, if this was a grade 1, they would probably say that it was a mild hamstring strain. Jeudy could miss 4 to 6 weeks. One or more of the muscles that make up the hamstring is possibly partially torn. So with a strain, that is a partial tear. By medical definition, a hamstring strain is a partial tear. So if this is indeed a hamstring strain, then he does have a partial tear in those hamstring muscles. So I'm hoping that this isn't anything more than a grade 2, and Denver seems to be optimistic that it's nothing more than a grade 2, but this does mean that Jerry Jeudy is probably going to miss at least week 1, and if it is the 4 to 6 week timeline, week 2 and week 3 could also be in danger. If it's towards the 6 weeks of that timeline, I could see the Broncos, after the cut deadline, after the initial 53-man roster is set, putting Jerry Jeudy on injured reserve. That would then mean that he would be out for the first 4 weeks of the regular season. And so now the question becomes, where do the Denver Broncos go from here at the wide receiver position? So we're going to come over here and we're going to take a look at the Denver Broncos depth chart at wide receiver. And as you can see, now that Jerry Jeudy is down, we're definitely going to need guys such as Marvin Mims, Kendall Hinton to step up. We'll zoom out here so we can see the other side. They split it up left to right. Brandon Johnson is slated to be one of our starters, along with Marquez Callaway. I actually feel like this is probably going to be our starting 3 wide receivers right now, is Courtland Sutton, Brandon Johnson, Marquez Callaway. Brandon Johnson would fill the slot role, and in 4 wide receiver sets, that's when we would bring Marvin Mims in. Because it was Jerry Jeudy that went down, I feel like it's going to need to be Marquez Callaway who steps up, because Brandon Johnson's going to fill the slot role. We need somebody to fill the other outside role alongside Courtland Sutton. And with Marvin Mims, the Denver Broncos want to run him a little bit more in the slot. So I feel like it's going to be Marquez Callaway that's going to have to step up a little bit more, but that's not to say that Marvin Mims isn't going to be a part of this equation as well. And what this now means is that this bodes a lot better for guys such as Kendall Hinton to potentially make this team in some capacity, maybe if it's just practice squad. I feel like Taylor Grimes, they're going to sneak through on the practice squad. That's why they haven't given him a whole lot of looks in those 2 preseason games, even though he's gotten plenty of love in training camp. He's like a prime sneak through to the practice squad candidate. And this even could potentially mean that somebody like Montreal Washington could make the active roster, or even Michael Bandy. So those are the in-house guys that I would keep an eye on. As far as who's available on the free agent market, it's pretty slim pickings, Broncos country. I want nothing to do with Kenny Golladay. Julio Jones, yeah, maybe. He's got that familiarity going against Sean Payton all of those years when they were together in the NFC South, but Julio's best days are far behind him, and he's got a pretty lengthy recent injury history. Jarvis Landry, that would be the one that would maybe make some sense to me. He's got familiarity in this offensive scheme. Although Sean Payton wasn't in New Orleans when Jarvis was last year, that it was still the exact same scheme pretty much that Sean Payton runs. So Jarvis Landry would at least be familiar with the terminology and all that stuff, and the learning curve would be a little bit smaller for him. Sammy Watkins, maybe, but he's also kind of injury prone. And after that, it's just like nobody out there. So T.Y. Hilton, no way. I think he's pretty much done in the NFL. And after that, there's like nobody there. So I really feel like the Denver Broncos are kind of screwed in terms of the free agent wide receiver department. However, I did hear a rumor that the team could be interested in maybe trading for Saints wide receiver Traquan Smith. At that rate, our wide receiving core would basically be the Saints 2021 wide receiving core plus Cortland Sutton and Brandon Johnson. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's kind of where we are at this point in the year. And we had strong depth going into this offseason at the wide receiver position, but unfortunately, once again, it just feels like the team has been snake bitten with injuries there. Obviously, for Jerry Jeudy, this is one of the best case scenarios for him, but it's still not great news for him or the Denver Broncos. And for at least the first week or two of the regular season, we're going to have to fill that void. And right now, it seems like the out-of-house options are pretty slim pickings, but I'm confident that guys such as Brandon Johnson and Marquez Callaway and Little Jordan Humphrey are going to be able to step up because they have done so in training camp. All right, Broncos country, how do you guys feel about the current free agent wide receiver situation, and who would you bring in as a potential replacement for Jerry Jeudy? Drop those comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are two free and easy ways to show your support, helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.